Hi, I'm Tamara Lackey, and on this episode of reDefine show for Adorama TV, I speak with portrait photographer Jeff Rojas about why he decided to focus his specific genre on photographing men. Spoiler alert, it turned out to be a smart tactical move. We also walk through how to pose people around their self-perceived flaws. Check it out. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Hanging out next to this painting with me.
It's rustic. I like it. Let's go with rustic.
So right off the bat, I have to ask you, your website, so your name is Jeff Rojas, but your website is?
My name backwards, which is obnoxious and annoying.
And how does it sound again? How do you say it out loud?
I say Sagerfedge. You can pronounce it any way that you want to.
Sagerfez. Okay. And the reason for that is?
Somebody bought my URL when I was about 12 years old. I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have a debit card. I didn't use the internet. Oh, yes, I used the internet, but somebody parked it and won't let it up. And here's the funny part. There's 30 Jeff Rojases in the United States. I know personally one of them. He is not family. He's not anything. And I'm trying to beat him out to get that parked URL. And so funny enough, we're both from Orlando. Mm-hmm. We're both in the creative industry. He's a creative director for a magazine.
Okay.
Me being a photographer. We're both Hispanic Puerto Ricans.
Uh-huh.
And we're within a very similar age group, and we both have the legal same name. It can't be any more perplexing whatsoever. So we decided we're going to conquer the world together. So, because we're working simultaneously, Jeff Rojas is just going to own everything. That's the way that we operate.
I like this.
Splitting, that's it, splitting all the work.
This is interesting, but for right now, you're going to be remaining...
Sagerfedge.com.
Can't even say it.
No,
but obviously it works. People find you.
Somehow,
people
somewhere. I think
you.
people just, jeffrojas.com, they're like, who's Jeff Rojas?
And it pops right up.
Just good metadata, good tags, good marketing that way, good SEO.
Do you do a lot of focus on SEO for your marketing?
On the back end, yes. It's not something that I teach, but it's something that I have to incorporate into my business.
Yeah. So. And is that something that you are doing, or you hire somebody to help you do?
No, I do everything by myself at this point in my career.
So you're doing what? Like you'll post a blog post and then just go in and add every tag and every keyword and every description?
So I've learned how to automate everything at this point. There's an app for everything. So for example, if I do a YouTube video, I know that there's an app called If This Then That, IFTTT.
Yeah.
So it'll automatically post it into a blog, and if I need to go on the back end to add any metadata, I can do that. So it gives me a chance to like automate things. So everything that I do is in advance and it's automated at any given point. So anything that I do, there's some reaction to it somewhere.
So you've built all of that just with that app, all of those. So if you're posting a blog post, and you put like 9 images up, how is that automated with your keywords and stickers?
The post itself, the most annoying part of any blog post for me is usually finding a thumbnail. Like that's the first thing. So if I'm shooting, let's say, a YouTube video, you have to find a screenshot of the specific image that you have. If This Then That captures the screenshot that you already use for YouTube and automates it into the WordPress. And then you can relink the video itself as a direct link to YouTube. So if you go into my site and you go to like blog.sagerfedge.com, you click on anything and it literally links to where it needs to go. So there's all this backlinking and trying to figure out how to drive traffic back to me.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just trying to automate things, make it easier.
You said at this stage of your career, you're doing everything yourself.
Everything.
So you do.
Aside from retouching, I've outsourced that.
Okay.
Because that takes
was my
hours.
next question. Editing.
Yes. Yeah. It's gotten to a point where I have to literally just outsource, and usually it's like $10 an image, so I don't have a problem doing that.
Do you work with a service or an individual or?
Just different people out in Russia. I found that I think every country has a different style of retouching. Right. I generally like Russian retouching or Ukrainian retouching.
I'm Ukrainian.
Nice. So I like your retouching.
Retouch. I don't like offer that as a service, but I've never heard that before.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at any market, like India, for example, their style of photography and their style of retouching is different than what you'd find here in the U.S. And Japan would be different than the U.S. And just finding somewhere that you can send your photos to that has that vision that you have.
Photographing men, how did you get into that as your most recognized genre?
Marketing.
Marketing?
Yes. So very clear and concise. I think this is the first time I'm ever going to say this on camera.
Okay.
I thoroughly love teaching. I love the fact that I'm able to share information. So there's many other things that I do aside from photographing men. But when I looked at and analyzed the market, that is photography, you have Sue Bryce, who teaches how to photograph women. You have yourself, and you have your specific niche. You have Lindsay, fashion. You have all these different people.
Right.
No one specializes in photographing men. And at that point, my background's more corporate.
Yeah.
So I just figured out little ways.
You saw a gap.
that's it. I saw that niche, and I just decided to fill that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I was the leading expert to begin with, but I just created something for myself and marketed that.
Yeah.
And it gave me an ability to teach about that.
Yeah,
Because there was a lot of things that I had to study in order to feel confident teaching whatever that information was.
Right.
So.
Very smart. And do you find that it's different with opposing men? Is it something that came naturally to you, or that you had to teach yourself and get up to speed?
You know, I try my best to incorporate body language and communication, trying to understand, like, the communication, the dialogue that we're having now. Like, what does your physical body presence have? Mine's more, like, closed off and reserved because I'm on camera right now. Like, that's my natural tendency, is I'm literally in a pretzel right now, right? So I think about these things as I'm posing people. If I felt comfortable, I would be more inclined to have a conversation with you this way.
Come on, be comfortable,
and
stay here.
But so those are the things that I incorporate. So not just posing to accentuate body structure and body type, but also for a purpose. And that's where...
What's my body language saying right now?
I think you're more comfortable. You've been doing this for a long time.
I'm also
and I
leaning
feel
into you. I'm
you're
interested
leaning
in
in,
you.
absolutely. And if you look at my body language, mine's kind of like...
God, why is she getting so close?
No, but like that. So that's the part of like having that dialogue. So in theory, in sales, I should have a dialogue with you this way, so we feel more in tune to one another and have a
Yeah.
conversation. So those are the things that I would want.
Or I could go like this.
Exactly, and be like, help me. So that's all.
So you're actually going to switch up your position for the rest of the
switching
interview.
my position, absolutely.
I like this. I feel like we've progressed.
Absolutely.
I feel closer to you and more connected.
That's how it should be.
All right, so with photographing men, you're looking at body language and working with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then are you following kind of because I've seen a lot of your poses, you have a lot of variety. Are you following any sort of specific kind of guidelines, or you're just working with every individual differently?
So I look at, when inspiration-wise, I look at the greats. And when I mean greats, I don't mean photographers. I mean like Michelangelo. Like, how did Michelangelo study the body? These people spent all their lives studying body types and body structures. So I use that and incorporate it into my posing.
Yes.
So different body types, I pose different ways. Like, for example, if you feel self-conscious about your center, you know, not having your center towards the camera or away from the camera, like something that's 45 degrees, what can we do to style you to look a little better and a little more confident to the way that you're posed? So I try to incorporate all these different things into the photography.
So you've mentioned that before. I've heard you talk about how you work with people's, for lack of a better term, insecurities or disadvantages or whatever. What phrase do you use?
So I say people's just self-perception and self-perceived flaws.
How do you bring that up? How do you start that conversation? Is it something that you've noticed that they're feeling insecure about, or do you outright ask, or how does that work?
So one of the things that you saw me when I first started sitting here was the insecurity
Back then
of me
when
being
you were a
there.
pretzel.
Back then when I was a
Before we
pretzel.
got to where we are now.
But you analyze that and you kind of figure out, what is that person trying to hide? And I think another thing is even the way a person dresses really says something about the way that they are as a person. Like, what are they trying to hide? Generally, larger men will wear baggier clothes to try to mask what's happening.
Yeah.
So you can kind of start putting all these things together. And I really think it comes back into studying body language and studying psychology and studying people and trying to understand what you as a person are trying to bring. So I don't directly ask, no, it's more or less analyzing a person and trying to understand who they are.
Yeah.
Are they trying to hide something or compensate for something? Glasses, for example. Most people who wear glasses wear them 24/7, and you're, for example, my example is this: you, as a person who wears glasses, have to worry about the beach. If your glasses are going to fly off, you can't go on a roller coaster, you can't cut your hair, you can't take a shower, whatever it is, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Why do I, as a photographer, should I ask somebody to remove their glasses when they're taking a portrait? Because I can't remove the catch light in the glasses, because I can't compensate for that if I'm a beginning photographer. So I want to cut all these adding to people's perceived flaws.
Are there certain methods you use to make men feel more comfortable in camera? If you are perceiving that, okay, I've got them posed and everything's good, but there's a strain, there's a discomfort. Like, are there any certain methods that you use?
Dialogue. I think at any given point, I look at myself less as a photographer, more as a psychologist. So so what I've started doing is filming my sessions live. I've literally just been running my phone for people to see these things, but I don't take many photographs. I will sit there, have a conversation with you, and find an impromptu moment, and just a candid moment, and just take that photograph. Because I would rather you look natural than me try to pose you. And I think going back to body language and going back to selling, I'd rather somebody look comfortable and confident than look fake. And I think a lot of people read images and can see smile lines, for example. You smile and it's like, versus you don't see the crinkles in the eyes, you can tell it's not a genuine smile. So all these things play in a factor. So less photos, more dialogue.
Yeah. And then you mentioned selling. How do you move your work?
In regards to sales
Yeah.
and trying to sell product.
Yeah.
And so most of my clients are affluent people. meaning that they have a lot of money. I try to figure out the way to work less and make more.
Okay.
And that's anything to do, because I think it's very difficult to make a living charging $50 for a photo shoot, especially, for example, camera. Say you have a $3,000 camera, has 50,000 shutter clicks. Do the math. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg to have that portrait session. It literally costs you what you just spent. If you have a $50 portrait session, that's what it costs for 500 photos, whatever it is. I try to figure out how to work less. So I have all these affluent clients that I market to. I can shoot 1 or 2 a month and be okay. Cut costs, cut overhead to do that. The reason that I don't have employees is because I'm happy doing it by myself right now.
You enjoy it right now.
Exactly. So if I have 1, 2, 3 affluent clients a month, these are the people renting a location for $2,000, $3,000. I don't really have to work all that much, and I'm okay doing that, and I'm okay having that dialogue, and I think it makes it almost unique and genuine with that specific person. And it gives me a chance to work in other ways of marketing myself. Like, I shoot fashion, and I do that because the affluent people are like, I just shot with a photographer who shot for Elle or Esquire, and that's a whole marketing pitch by itself. So I'm constantly looking at ways to brand my name in certain aspects.
So, and this I think is a common thing among people who really know what they're doing in terms of being able to bring in the clientele they want, is you do the work that maybe it's not paying you what you want, but it gives you the brand, it gives you the recognition, it gives you the reputation, and you use that and parlay that in.
Absolutely. So recently I wrote an article for Esquire magazine, not Esquire, sorry, Entrepreneur magazine.
Okay.
Entrepreneurs are people that are trying to showcase themselves in a certain way. They have generally the capital to showcase themselves in branding, personal branding. If you have somebody who looks schlumpy, and they take
Schlumpy.
exactly.
Have you been to schlumpy.com?
No, I haven't. It looks kind of. I can only imagine what that website holds right now. But if they're trying to photograph, if they're trying to market themselves in a certain way, and they don't, that's not what they're communicating. I know how much impact that has on their business. I can sell that specific client. So going back to that, it's all marketing, and they get a chance to say, I work with so-and-so photographer, or I get a chance to do this. It's just all marketing and branding and business.
Perception.
That's it, self-perception.
And that's also why having those photographs can be the best money people spent, and having this personal brand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, photograph that way.
Well, like dentist. So a dentist goes to take a portrait, and you make him look like the dentist movie back in like the 90s or the 80s, and he looks that creepy. Would you go to that dentist? So think about the impact that has on his business. People are looking at that image, right? And they're deciding, I'm not going to spend money with that specific person. So you have a direct impact on his finances and in his pocket. So to me, that's not worth $50. I have a direct correlation to the money that he's able to make. And that's the way that I parlay that to sales. So that's how I'm able to charge what I can.
Would you have any, outside of what you've already shared, any last kind of, hey, if I could give you one tip as it relates to marketing or getting that client you want, or keeping the clients you have, what would you say that is?
Just being genuine. I mean, a genuine dialogue and having a conversation, the same way that we've had, and it's an open communication saying, this is something I'd love to do for you. Like most of the clients that I have relationships with at this point. And it's opened more doors into more areas. One of my clients is well versed in the R&B industry. And I get a chance to meet these people. I may not get a chance to photograph behind the scenes with me and them, but I get a chance to do things that other people wouldn't do because I have a personal relationship with somebody. And
when you say having open dialogue, you mean literally communicating to them that you want to work with them. You want to work with them long term, and it's interesting because I think that's actually a step that a lot of people miss along the way.
Because it's usually, it's almost like, this sounds terrible, like hit it and quit it, like try to make money from someone and run away, and that's not.
That does, in fact, sound terrible.
That sounds, but that's not what you want. It's a long-term relationship. I want long-term relationships. That's what I want.
So you sit down and say, look, man, I do not want to hit it and quit it with you.
No, not in my male portrait sessions. We can have that conversation a different day, but not in my male portrait
You
sessions.
use different words.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but we now get the gist of exactly what you mean.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Long-term relationships.
Long-term relationships are, because they are more fulfilling to you.
Yes, absolutely. It's just, you get to learn a person, what they like, what they don't. No, and that works in photography as well.
All the way. It's amazing, the parallels.
Absolutely.
All right, so I know where to send people to learn more about you, which I gotta learn. I want to say it as well as you do. Sedja.
How about this? I'll make it easier. I do all my videos, all of them, are at kissphoto.com.
Oh, that's so easy.
Kiss, F-O-T-O. Why? Because I also teach, I will be teaching in Spanish. So it's nice to incorporate the F in there.
Oh, perfect. All right. So kissfoto.com. That's where all your videos are.
Absolutely.
And then all the metadata and stuff all links out to your site. And then how about on the social medias?
It's all the same, Sagerfetch, which is annoying. SAJORFFEJ.
Okay.
Everything is the same.
Well, I know how to see it. I just don't know how to say it, which is all you need.
And that's okay.
To type. It's just you need to know how to see it.
Just
Perfect.
Google. Google helps.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff Sagerfetch. Check us out here next time on Adorama TV. And do not forget, you can subscribe to Adorama TV and pose all kinds of questions that you can have answered with all the content here.